Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 47 of the Build Guide 2. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all the support on these episodes. It really is humbling to see how much you guys enjoy this series every week. Some great suggestions last time. A few of you wanting to turn this part of town into something of an older downtown, right? The downtown that existed before the new high-rise metropolitan Orchid Bay. And I'm pretty on board with that idea, so I think next episode we might look at developing a little bit of medium density this side of the highway and having this function as a older downtown, right? Some of the older, more unique buildings in there, like the old street market, maybe a bit of European high density if we're feeling brave. Can be pretty rancid and vanilla, but I'm sure we can find an excuse to use it. But very cool indeed. But what I do want to do today is a very unique build, the regional cargo airport, which should be a lot of fun. And quite a challenging build as well, but should be worth it come the end. We're going to stick it in this space here up against our final, well, first of the 25 tile boundaries. We've hit this one over here, of course, and we have very nearly made touchdown over in the one in Sharon as well. So, let's have a little look at what we can do with a vanilla regional cargo airport, shall we? So, there's a lot of people dying in last episode's build. I'm assuming because they're enjoying it so much, and I hate to just throw a service asset down without giving it proper respect, but we will be over here again eventually, and we'll relocate that crematorium, but for right now, it's just going to help pick people up. So this is a space I want to work with today, and because we're at the foot of a mountain, I think it's going to be a really fun opportunity to work with some interesting layers, and we're also, of course, by water as well. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and grab our airport area tool. And I want to come up the side of the mountain here, and let's grab maybe 7 or 8 contour lines. Probably about there, I reckon. That should be enough. So let's paint this area out where we want to play today. Cool, so what this will do for us is allow us to tunnel the highway under the eventual sort of complex of the cargo airport. And it also gives us an opportunity to do some pretty cool runway piers as well. Of course, when we're working with terraforming, so it's always going to look pretty rancid before it starts to look good. So it will soften a lot of that very nasty airport area painting, terraforming out, because it's never the best. And let's just have a little look where the cargo ships are going here. So they've still got plenty of clearance. We could even end up actually terraforming this into a runway pier. Every time I'm building an airport near water, I can't help myself but terraform a runway pier. So we'll probably do that as well once we know exactly where our runway is going to sit. So let's delete the highway now. And then of course that land's going to pop back up where we terraformed out. And then we can turn that into a tunnel later on. And I guess we'll keep this one going for a little bit. This also doesn't need to be terraformed this side either. Let's push this back down. And we'll allow these tunnels to go a little bit further into the airfield because we're right against the tile boundary. We want to make sure we have enough room to develop an interchange for the actual cargo terminal itself. So we'll develop that over here, I imagine. Let's make sure that we also extend these highway roads to allow that to happen. I imagine just a bridge across with some slip ramps is going to be enough to serve the airport. Cool, so let's come into our airport stuff. As always, one of the most important things to do first with these airport builds is the runway, because they're the biggest, most important things. And we could go here, let's actually just push that area out a little bit there. Terraforming's got a touch of jank to it. Today's build is going to be pretty ugly before it starts to look good, so please do bear with me. And then we got road guidelines snapping on here. Yes, we do. So hopefully we can grab our runway. We'll snap it onto this one here, so we can get 120 units in, which I think I'm happy with that. It's going to be another really cool, proper industrial complex in this side of the bay. Should be a very nice complement to the cargo harbour we did a couple of episodes ago. Cool, but I don't hate that. Let's now grab the cargo building itself, which I think is going to sit about here. And again, the more room we can give this, the better. I'd rather have it closer to the mountain and chip away at the mountain than have it too close to the highway. So let's have this about here. That should give me enough room. And then as people are driving into the city here, they should get a nice little sort of preview through the trees of this little cargo facility as they drive into the city. We get a preview of all those cargo planes parked up slightly on an elevated layer. And then looking across the bay, they can see all those container cranes. Very strong industrial vibes as we come into this part of the map, isn't it? Very cool. Fabulous. So let's get the cargo aircraft stands configured. Possibly 4, I think will be enough. Just sat on the cargo airport itself. That shouldn't be too bad. I think we'll go with that. Let's make sure we can get our taxiways configured at the same time as well. So we'll have everyone flow this way. And then up and over. And then of course with the runway we want to configure out at the ends. And run it parallel with this one here. And then come back down this side too. And then this should allow us actually to just configure the airport pretty sensibly, just like so. We can come out at a 50-degree angle here. I think I'm going to be happy with that. Something like this should be okay for a general configuration. Split the direction here, and that should complete a 4 cargo loop for the planes coming in and out of the airfield, which is fine by me. So that configuration works. Let's now return to terraforming our highways, and we can see just how close we can take this to the runway before we have to turn it into a tunnel. Again, the more room we can afford here, the better it's going to be in the long run. For accentuating those layers and making it look cool. Of course, we all know at this point of Orchid Bay how important layering is for a build. Makes an enormous difference. So let's hit that guideline, and then we'll bring this one on the same curvature as well. So we'll start to sink here. Let's push the land a little closer towards the road, so we go kind of into the landmass rather than down, if you know what I mean. And we'll do a full tunnel length of 420, hopefully on both sides, or 4,200. And I'm pretty happy with that, I think. That's not too horrendous. Plenty of room here to develop an interchange for the cargo airport. And then same process again on this side. I do want a little bit of room here for some infrastructure to develop. We've also got this train line here as well, haven't we? Which, okay, yeah, I actually wanted this to wrap around under these mountains, didn't I, to come back up this Shays mineral storage over this way. So I think that's what we'll do. But we'll let the highway take priority first. I imagine this is going to become embanked and then cross over the highway here, because that's not a cargo line and we don't need that extra cargo connection. Because this area is kind of getting to the point where we're doing almost too many cargo connections. There's a lot of freight coming through this area of the map, but it'll be fine, right? Orchid Bay will probably not need any more industrial import and export functionality after this build. Cool, so let's push this layer up now, so there's none of this jank hanging around. Again, we just want to decide how close we want to be to the infrastructure. I'd like to include some helicopter depots here as well, so I don't want to get too close to the runways. I want to make sure we can still get those in. So that seems like a sensible point for me. Probably about there. Let's bring these runway roads down. We'll go for here. Make sure we're on the road guideline too. Fabulous. And then again, we'll mimic the tunnel length of 4,200 either side. And we should be happy with that. Yeah, cool. So see, it goes into the top, there's an embanked landmass rather than down into the ground. That's really what I want to achieve here. And then this should just be a simple case of straight piece and happy road guideline, I think. Both splendid and tremendous. The highway is now hooked back in again. So we'll wait for that to flow. And of course the cargo airport is actually now functional as well, because it's got its taxiways configured and whatnot. Of course, wants a lot of detailing. Otherwise, it's not too bad. In terms of the terraforming here, we have not quite hit the foothill of the mountain yet, so I think we'll just push up toward that. And then with that in mind, we can use a industrial road here as a way to hold some further assets in the airfield itself, like helicopter depots. And possibly even the actual public transport helicopter depot here as well, because I think before Orchid Bay ends, which isn't anytime soon by the way, I'm just sort of speaking here while we're talking about it, I would like to try and have every single asset used in the city at least once. So we're going to have to find a way to use helicopters, and this will be the final airport, because Orchid Bay now has 3 separate airport DLC builds. Cool. So we'll allow that industrial road to go into the facility, hold assets using that, and then with this one here, we just want to soften that extreme airport area terraforming out now, so it's not quite as nasty. And that should bring everything up, and everyone's nice and happy. Fabulous. So let's see if we can almost make out. I'll tell you what we will do is, just to get an impression, let's go ahead and throw down one of the parked cargo plane props as eventual airfield decoration. And then we'll see what that looks like from this kind of sunken highway. It's quite fancy, isn't it? Do love that. Sightlines are so important. Parked cargo planes. You'll be able to see them landing here as well, of course, one day. Shipping container port over in the distance. Very nice. Very cool. I've never built this much industry in one space. It's just turning into a very sort of thematic bay, this area, isn't it? Cool, so this is working now. We need to give road connections to the actual cargo airport itself, so let's have a look at those now. So a couple of cheeky little slip ramps should just do the job here. So we'll bring up some higher elevations where we need them. And then let's bring out our 4-lane industrial road for the first time. We can use this to come out about here. We are going to be slightly angled, I think. We can hit the road guideline of that cargo road. We'd even add another connection in there. I doubt it'd get much use, but I guess it'd make sense from a cargo perspective, wouldn't it, to have access onto the airfield? Though you imagine there'd be some sort of gate there to stop the public just driving into it. Which we might actually be able to do with some of the Japanese railroad props, but we'll come to that later on. We can also come out here as well, although not on a straight angle, which is a little annoying, but we'll address that in a sec. Then again, actually, you know, I bet for this configuration here, rather than just kind of a diamond slip ramp, if you like, a trumpet is probably the better solution, actually. So let's do that instead. Let's actually remove that layer there, because we don't need that. And then we'll just push out the land a little bit more until we know just how much room we need. And then we'll grab this one here. Let's hit the road guideline. Let's prepare those trumpet slip road as well while we're here. Hit the guideline and we'll come... Oh, really? Out of city limits? This is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Working this close to the tile boundary. That's going to be where it's going to have to go, isn't it? So that's okay. That doesn't really bother me too much. And then we'll just create this one to come here for right now. Another tunnel if necessary, but we should have enough room. We'll get that 4-lane industrial road again. Elevate by 3 steps. Come in line with this highway here. Fantastic news. Let's hook that in. Let's bring this out a touch further. And then I reckon a simple 5 curve here should see us through. And then we could hook in like that. Or we could split this into 2 cute little slip ramps if we wanted to. And then just have that final configuration run something like that. Don't think I hate that. And we could throw in some fresh lane math as well if we want to. 3 minus 1, that's 2. Quick lane maths. Cool. And of course we just want the ramps coming on the other way as well. Let's go ahead and just use the slope tool for that. This shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you never know. And that should do there, I think. So it's a pretty compact trumpet, but it's only going to handle a relatively small amount of industrial traffic, so it shouldn't get overwhelmed. It should be alright. And again, we can do some quick lane maths through there as well. Fabulous. Again, it's going to add to that sort of chunkier industrial infrastructure, isn't it? We've not had a cargo plane land yet, have we? Well, because I've had the game on pause most of the time. That is a habit I'm never going to drop. But that does give directional functionality on the highway for the cargo airport. We could also do something similar here with a couple of little slip ramps. But I imagine with all the cargo traffic leaving here, they're almost always going to take this interchange, so anything we put down there will be pretty useless. But it can't hurt. We'll just sort of see how things flow once the cargo planes arrive. I reckon that should be okay. And we can tidy up any nastiness that develops with a little bit of soften. And then also, yeah, let's terraform this back as well. So we're not looking too weird. And then again, a little bit of Grandmaster soften there should ease everyone back in. Very nice. Lots of rocks and little bits of tree detailing around here. Plenty of overgrowth too. Will help things settle, I reckon. But not too bad to squeeze up against the tile boundary. Of course, can be awkward without the 81 tiles on, but you know, you never know if Cities 2 gets delayed or is crap, then 81 Tiles might be making an appearance in Orchid Bay. But we'll wait and see, of course. But that's not too bad. So, mentioned that we want to include some other buildings within the facility here, and definitely on board with getting the helicopter depot in if we can. So, let's have a look at it first. This is it. It's also got the little air control tower on it, hasn't it, which is quite thematic. I do like that. Let's move this over a little bit, and then I think we'll have a little industrial road sat parallel with the taxiways. Something like that. Then we'll have helicopter depot here, which I guess we could use as our air control tower because we don't actually have one of the other air control towers here from the airport's DLC, because we'd have to drop in concourse to get it to sit, which I think will look a little bit weird, so we might end up avoiding that. We'll also get the blimp depot in here as well. If I'm going to use every asset, at some point we have to have a blimp line in. I mean, it's a nice looking asset, isn't it? I just don't like what comes out of them. If the blimps just never came out, I'd be quite happy, but I guess we could use it here. We can find a space for it. It's got another little air control tower on it as well, which sort of hits the theme I'm trying to implement here, doesn't it? I'm biting my tongue whilst I'm looking at this. I would actually like this the other way though, so if we can accommodate that, that would be grand. We will use it. I guess we could put it a bit further down actually, couldn't we? No, it's fine. Just put it here. It's okay. How are we doing for sort of fire coverage? 56% fire safety, and the crime rate's 6. I did have another great suggestion as well of getting a prison out here. I think we definitely will include a prison, maybe over here at some point. But that will be when we develop these areas. But please do keep the ideas coming. You're giving me lots of inspiration as to how to build out this area. One of them being the cargo airport today. Still hoping to see some planes arrive. Maybe one day. Okay, so we will run with the helicopter depot, and I guess if we've only got 56% fire safety, then we can probably afford another fire helicopter depot. So why don't we run this down this way, and then we'll start playing with our terrain layers here now. So let's push this up. This train line is going to have to elevate up at some point, which we'll do. Let's just remove it for right now so the airport takes the priority, and then we can worry about that in a second. So let's trim all this back. I did mention possible airport runway, didn't I? Or runway pier, sorry, not airport runway. Of course every runway is an airport runway. So let's just push the bay out to about here, a little bit closer towards those taxiways as well. So we end up with something like that. We'll have to push a bit more of the landmass out here as well, because we are going to have to key this off, which is okay. Always love a key. That's interesting, you know, I need to check how close we are to the node count in Orchid Bay, because there is a lot of fencing and a lot of roads down at this point. I can't imagine we're near the cap, but we're probably over 70% now, I imagine. Okay, so we'll let that flow in. Let's grab our favourite key. I imagine we're going to go for simple seawall fenceless, and we definitely want the road guideline snap on here too. And let's go for there. And that's going to sit perfectly there, is it? Yes, please. Thank you very much for vanilla key functionality. I do enjoy it when you don't give me grief. And then we'll line up this key as well with the taxiways. And these are just going to connect in. Oh, wonderful. Today is my day. Fantastic news. So we'll get all those around, and that gives us a little bit of a runway pier. And then we can push this out here and just try and bring a little bit more natural shape back into the bay. And we can have a little bit of a seaside road here as well that runs up to the cargo airport, which would be quite nice. I imagine we'll also get a toll booth in here too, as a bit of a sort of security entrance for the cargo airfield. Definitely above the runway pier though. Always, I love a runway pier. So with that in mind, that now gives us the opportunity to push this layer up. And then we'll have that fire helicopter depot out this way. Just sort this terrain out first though. Let's have the pushed it right up against the highway. Might even end up flooding this and bringing the key around. But we'll see. We'll see what it turns out like. And then in terms of the fire helicopter depot, any natural disaster assets actually want to work in here? Where the radar wouldn't be a bad shout for the cargo airport, would it? I always forget about these assets. There's also the disaster response airbase too, which again, if I want to use every asset in the game before we finish... No, I can't put that here. It's too big. It is nice though. it is nice. But no, not here. This needs to remain a regional cargo airport. The last airport we built that was supposed to be regional actually ended up turning out to be quite international. So let's not get carried away. Keep it small. Remember what the title of the video is, Egg. Yeah, I think we'll just go for standard fire helicopter depot. But positioned up and against the highway, I imagine, is what's going to please me the most. So let's end up knocking that back a little bit further. Somewhere to like there. And then we'll wrap that road around it, and then we can use that as the edge of the airfield. There's also a developer slope here as well, where I imagine we're going to have that toll booth that we talked about. Probably coming down to about here if we can hit the guideline. Tremendous, and then we'll grab that toll booth. We want to go for two-way small. Well, so we could do the two-way large. We don't really use the large one that often. Bring some slightly more important vibes in, wouldn't it? A little bit more room for cars to move in and out of the airport. Special. I think I'm happy with that. We could also do some more slip ramps here as well, kind of how we did down this way. Just to take more pressure off other interchanges, but the highways here are pretty smooth. There's no major traffic to worry about. Alright, and there we go. There's people arriving in now. Police car coming into the cargo airport. So, I'll let the game run for a little bit, and we'll be back once the plane arrives, and we can just see how the interchange and the airfield in general behave. Okay, so our first plane has arrived. The lorry comes out, and he's taking things to downtown, which is cool. Someone abandoned there? You guys alright? What's wrong? The noise pollution was high? Oh, this is the area we built on live stream. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You can't live here. Bye. Oh, either way, that's his functioning now. He's going to take the interchange back out into the city. Just thinking, if we do leave this road connected, it's going to end up taking a lot of the traffic out the front of the cargo terminal itself, which I don't really want to happen, because I want to see them driving through these bits. So how about if we separated this and then allowed this to be the main connection? We'll obviously need to do a little curve here of some description. Something like that should be cool. And then if we run some sort of parallel network spices here and have this sort of hug this general infrastructure, and then I reckon a couple of warehouses might not totally go amiss here. We might have to be careful of their positioning, of course, because I don't want the plane wings to clip them. But if we're just sort of exploring the concept together, let's make sure we're also fully terraformed here as well, so we have as much ploppable room as we have. Then, especially when these fill up as well, they'll be filled with props. So we'll do commercial zone goods and just see how that looks. Won't be too horrific. Where are you guys going? You are a guard at the sawmill and you're driving home. You are very far away. Where do you live? He lives in Karen. What the hell is he doing over there? This guy is like totally lost. Dexter Blackwell. I guess if it's Dexter, he could have just been out murdering someone in a plastic kill room. Maybe Orchid Bay's version of Dexter Morgan is Dexter Blackwell. Interesting. Oh, of course, of course it's Dexter. He's got the police after him, hasn't he? Dexter has been caught. And of course he lives in Karen as well, right? That is now 100% Orchid Bay law. There's one of the carnivorous deer as well. What a day. What a day by Orchid Bay's regional cargo airport. Dexter's had a kill, been chased by the police, carnivorous deer are back here too. Very overwhelming. And I don't think I mind these little warehouse yards here. I think it's pretty special and feels a good place for a detail in time-lapse, to be honest. We're going to go ahead and fill the airfield with our airport fuel tank things, whatever they're called, these ones, in the tab, if we can find them. There we go. Aviation fuel station is the words I'm looking for. Parked planes, etc. Plenty of airport aprons as well to wrap up the concrete space that we have to play with. We terraform the mountain so it's not quite obviously as flat as it joins the road. A little bit of forest brush here, decorate the interchange, complete the terraforming around the runway pier, and then also bring this rail connection up and over the highway to enter a tunnel that will eventually pass through this mountain mass to emerge out near Shay's mineral storage. Otherwise, pretty fun regional cargo airport build. Let's get it detailed and settled into the landscape, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a brief detailing review, shall we? So our airport now has some parking around it in the corner, and our interchange has been fully detailed with trees, fencing, overgrowth, rocks and whatnot. Try to blend it into that little recessed layer as much as we can, and you get some really cool views across the airfield now, sat over here. Up this way, we've dropped in some of these little ploppable Japan offices. I kind of thought they were perfect little airfield units to just sort of serve as a bit of, I guess, admin and HR within the airfield itself. So happy with those. And then we also got some planes and aviation stations up here, well, aviation fuel rather. And then some classic pathway and airport apronage. Used some of Imperator's new airport apron tricks to create essentially, I guess, false entrances onto the runway. If you haven't seen that video, go check out Imperator's channel. He covers some ideas of how to use these airport aprons a little more creatively. Really helpful video, so go check that out if you haven't already. And then we now have our fully terraformed runway pier. You know, wherever there is a runway near water, you can guarantee I'm going to turn it into a runway pier. It's my favourite bit of over-engineering. Absolutely love it. So this now runs around here with our entrance back into the national road over here, which is getting a little bit of use, which is nice. And then our train line snakes up here and then crosses the highway and back into another mountain tunnel, where it will eventually emerge over the hills and far away somewhere over here and link up with other train networks so it can continue flowing in all directions and eventually complete its loop back into Bifford Gardens, connecting into this line one day eventually. But that's a little bit of ways away yet. I got more parking and airport aprons around our helicopter depot and blimp depot, plus the fire helicopter depot out here too. And I'm happy with these little air control towers. I didn't want to drop in one from the airport's DLC because you have to have the concourse down for them. So I thought these worked a little bit better. So happy with those. And we will now have the capacity to drop in helicopter stops. Maybe a blimp stop. We might use blimps. But again, you know, if I want to use every asset in Orchid Bay before we finish, then there will have to be a blimp line somewhere. So one day, Orchid Bay will unfortunately have blimps. And I really like the way that this huge industrialized bay is panning out, turning out really sweetly. Another big bit of industrial infrastructure over there. We can see that transport hub developing that we saw last episode. And then, of course, all our ferries still coming in. So this whole area is turning out really nicely. I'm really enjoying working on a fresh part of the map. And I really liked your guys' idea of turning this into a little bit of an older downtown space. So I think we'll bring in a bit of medium density here next time. And also a really good shout last episode for introducing a little bit of seaside resorts into this little bay area here. So I can definitely see that happening. I get kind of an old seaside town maybe knocking about here. And prisons out here as well. Really liked all your guys' suggestions as to how this bit of Orchid Bay will develop. But happy with today's regional cargo airport. A pretty awkward build as... What are you doing, mate? You alright? What are you doing? But there we go, he goes away now. But yeah, really like the way this regional cargo airport turned out. Cute little build. Otherwise guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed yourselves at any point during today's video, likes, comments and shares really do help the channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. Equally as much if you haven't enjoyed it, and please feel free to leave me a dislike as well. Kind of an awkward build this one, in an incredibly awkward space, squeezed right into a tile boundary, but I think we've managed to really fit it into this really cool bay. A little bit of terraforming needed, and also terraforming that mountain as well at the foot of the hill. And it's just came together really nicely, a lot better than I thought it would be. Trump interchange is keeping traffic flowing perfectly everywhere, and of course they have that other back entrance back into the transport hub last episode. Where we will develop that medium density old style downtown next episode. I think should be a lot of fun. Otherwise, please enjoy your cinematics, but I'll show up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.